My name is Brandon Manor, and I intern for Fun2 Foundation. So I graduated from Wise College, located in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was a psychology major on a pre-medical track. I currently work for Fun2 Foundation, but specifically as it relates to my role, I work under Ivana Jackson, a part of the internX platform as an internX intern. And so the company is like no other. It's a very small knit team, but the quality and quantity of the work that's produced is outstanding. Furthermore, as it relates to the internX platform, me and my other coworker, we create different portfolio profiles. We create different marketing strategies. We pretty much just find ways to keep internX relatable and engaging to the youth while also trying to reach our goal of having 10,000 plus students having internships next year. So, interesting story. One of my mentors actually brought me by the Fun2 office to meet Miss Linda Wilson. And I walked in, I was like, hello. She was like, hey. And we were talking, having casual conversation. She said, do you have a job? I said, no. She said, do you want one? I said, yes. And she said, when can you start? I said, next week. And then Ivana was there. She was like, huh? And then next thing you know, we went on to have an interview. We stayed in touch, and then I was working with the team. So I never initially planned to work with Fun2, but I will say it was honestly the best decision that I've made in quite some time, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I would say my internship experience has been informative, and I say that for a couple of reasons. Informative about who I am, my capabilities as a lifelong student. A lot of the things that I've done, I didn't really know that I had the potential to produce and produce well, but I'm glad that I was presented with the opportunity to at least start working on tasks like this so I can see what I'm capable of. Informative as in what the foundation does. I believe Fun2 Foundation does great work, and I love what it's doing for people that look like myself. And also informative because as it relates to the work specifically, the programs such as the Cradle to Greatness, the Restoration Retreat, I had the opportunity to go to Denver, and we brought out about 55 plus young Black and brown boys and girls from all across the nation, and we talked about things such as financial literacy. We had different sessions around mentorship, around hip hop architecture, technology, the whole nine. And just being able to see what a foundation who has all of the resources to put this on, it was like no other to see the impact that, like I said, this such a team with a small knit, but the impact that was given and produced is unmatchable. So that's why I would say it was very informative just to see what an organization like this can really do. My responsibilities at Fun2 Foundation continue to evolve. As we see, I'm doing an interview right now. But again, it will come from working on marketing strategies to creating different workshops to even things such as trying to find a way to create a map of where all of our port codes are and what it is that they do. Graphic design, like it always continues to evolve. So I would say the skills that I've been able to hone in on really are creativity and innovation. Being able to come from nothing and figure out what it is to create something and make sure that something is something done well and to its fullest extent. The aspect of my internship that surprised me the most was being able to do transformative work as it relates to community engagement. Again, it goes back to the Restoration Retreat. Just being able to have the opportunity to travel and work with youth, like that was something that I did a lot in college and I had a true passion for. And by the time I graduated, I thought that was something I really wouldn't have the opportunity to do, specifically with Fun2 Foundation being an organization that prominently gives out grants, and also the internX platform. But to see that groundwork was still being done, that was an aspect of the internship that I didn't expect, but I love it. Even with the Cradle to Greatness that's coming up, the involvement with things such as Afrotech, everything that it's not only about the money that's invested, but it's also about the work that goes along with it that I think Fun2 does a great job of doing. I've learned how to grow and develop socially and professionally as it relates to Fun 2. Being around a lot of prominent people who are high up, whether it's in the music, the music and arts field, whether it's in the photography and videography field, whether it's in the community transformation activist field. Learning how to navigate those spaces, learning what to, what not to say, how to approach people, how to network specifically, and just also being able to talk to different senior level executives at different companies and create conversation and dialogue from there. I believe I've used every piece of coursework since elementary school as it relates to completing goals here at Fun 2. I always make this joke that this is one of the few places where everything you learn, it actually goes to use. And I mean that. One day you can be working on some type of platform for internX as it relates to marketing. And then the next day you could be looking at budgets or overlooking grants. The next day you could be trying to create some type of graphic design for a map for Miss Wilson. And then the next day you could be planning a trip or planning a workshop for technology when you have no technological background. So I've learned everything that I've learned from coursework to extracurricular. It's all been applicable to this workspace. My career goals, I'm an aspiring psychiatrist. I hope to specialize in addiction psychiatry and/or child psychiatry. And with that, what I want to do is I want to be able to open a space that, in a sense, serves as a safe haven for youth to be able to create what it looks like for them, their own tools to express their mental health in a positive aspect. And I believe working here at Fun 2 Foundation has been able to allow me to see how technology can play a role in that, specifically looking at the portcos around healthcare and mind and body, seeing what some of those software technologies look like, but also seeing the importance of STEM and how it can relate in a plethora of different fields. A specific task that was very challenging for me was when I was preparing for the restoration retreat, and they were like, I want you to work on this technology workshop with Wendell. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. Then I realized I was actually working on a technology workshop with Wendell, which meant that I had to learn how to work with the robot and also how to program it. So going back to coding, me not having any type of background in technology, I'm looking like what is this? So what that took was I spent a lot of time in the office, and it was the tool that we used. It was called the Sphero, and I was just going around the office rolling the Sphero around. Ivana probably tripped over it once or twice, but I took a lot. It took a lot of hours to learn how to program it. I had to watch certain videos, and I had to learn how to code from the ground up within 2 weeks. So that was very challenging for me, but I also had a lot of support from Wendell and the team who continued to not only encourage me, but also give me different resources on how I could learn how to code. So once I learned how to do it, I also had to go back and teach it. And it was very different for me, but the beauty in that was while I learned it and I got it down to a level of where I felt comfortable to teach it, I was still able to learn while I was teaching it. So that complex within itself it started out challenging, but then it made it a lesson for me. The opportunity from Fun 2 that I'm most excited about is the Cradle to Greatness that's coming up in October. I keep hearing a lot about it, a lot about the hard work that's going into it, but also the product that it's been able to produce. So I'm excited to learn more about it and see how I can play a role as an intern for the Cradle to Greatness. The type of support and guidance that I received from my supervisors and colleagues was like no other. It wasn't only about work, but it was also just holistic guidance as it relates to life and family situations, as it relates to career advisement, as it relates to networking advisement. It was amazing, and I'm truly thankful for Kay Shaw, Wendell Lane, Ivana Jackson, Miss Linda Wilson, Miss Eileen Ross. They all played a integral role in where I am now and where I'm going in the near future. The professional development opportunities that I received, I a lot of it came from the work that I was doing. So while I was working on the internX platform and working on the learning management systems and working with Wendell on different pieces of technology, throughout that process, I was given resources to utilize, of course, for those platforms. But while uploading them to the platform and finding them, I also found them useful for myself. So while also getting those resources via links and reading, I also had different conversations just throughout the office casually about how to and not to move in a professional space, proper business attire, business casual, the whole nine from there. The most important thing that I learned during my internship was to have confidence in yourself and to be genuine. If it's one thing that I think will really take you far in life, it's just always being yourself, because people appreciate you for being you, and that's what makes you you. It's continuing to be you. It brings an authentic portion into the workspace, and just seeing all the people that I worked with and worked for, I believe that's what makes fun too, because everybody is themselves, and that's what makes it unique. The best advice that I received was, whenever you're thinking about some sort of project, some sort of idea, you need to think about it on a 10x thinking scale. And with that, I was bringing an idea to somebody that I worked with, and what he told me was, he said, "It sounds good, sounds amazing. I see the work that you all are doing, but how can we make this scalable and bottle it up and push it out while keeping the same morale behind it?" And from there, I really had to take a second back and think about what we were doing, what it was we wanted to do, and how we wanted to continue to grow, and most importantly, what did that look like? And from that point forward, every time that I come up with any kind of idea, any kind of project, I always think about how we can scale it to make it grow, and be able to produce it in a lot of the areas that we want to produce it in, so we can have a mass impact. So that was probably one of the best pieces of advice that I was given. If there was any advice that I could give to a future intern, I would honestly say that seize the opportunity, because opportunities like this, we're going to start seeing a lot more of them as we continue to move forward year by year. But as of now, where we're at, continue to seize the opportunity, and anytime you get an opportunity like this, make sure you share it. Any of the resources that you have, share it, because it's important. As we start to move forward, as we start to elevate, we have to always consider bringing others with us, because that's the only thing that's going to get us to a point where, as a community, everyone will be able to be successful in their respective lane. So continue to work with others and pay it forward. My most memorable moment working with Fun2, I was at the restoration retreat and I was boxing stuff up, putting them in the bags. We were getting ready to take them to the house about a mile of the street. And one of my coworkers had called me. He was like, "Hey, Kay wants you to walk the boxes to the house." And I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, she wants you to walk the boxes to the house." I'm like, "It's 4 boxes, so that's like more than one trip." And I really didn't want to do it, but he's like, "No, you got to walk them." And I was like, as soon as I was about to say no on the phone, he was playing a prank on me. He actually was outside the house waiting for me to bring the boxes out. So pretty embarrassing but funny moment, because I was actually going to walk the boxes. I was actually going to walk the boxes up to the house. So I can never forget that. I can never forget that. The lesson from that for me was to always and the reason why I said that I was going to do it was because I always try to remain humble. And I think that's one thing, even though it really didn't happen. I think as you continue to move forward throughout life and when you come into these spaces, remain humble and never be afraid to do whatever it is that you're asked to do. Because if anybody's asking you to do something, you have to understand that it's probably a lesson behind it. And all of these lessons serve as a microcosm of life. So be willing to learn. Thank you, Fun2 Foundation, for the opportunity to be an internX student.